Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Point Podcast. Was doing well. Hope you guys all had a great long weekend. I know I did. Got into some activities that were a bit extravagant. Took a lot out on my body just to keep everybody informed. Friday, I guess it was. What was it? Yes, it was Friday. Friday, I did a 100,000 step challenge, which I did complete. So that was a positive thing. The rest of the weekend, my body was in quite a bit of pain. But I am back. Did about 30,000 yesterday, so I'm back to where I like to be. But I'm happy to be back here talking to you all. It was a good weekend. I got a little bit of a head cold again. I don't know. I've gotten sick more in the last 3 weeks than I have the last 3 years. So go figure there. But a lot to get into today. We're going to talk about the PGA Championship with Mito Pereira throwing that away, Justin Thomas ultimately winning it. We got lots of hockey to dive into. So unfortunate events in Colorado involving Nazem Kadri, which I'm going to get into, and it's sickening, honestly, what's happening to him. And there's no excuse for it. There's no reason. There's no in life. There's no way that this should be happening. This should be stopped. It shouldn't be a problem. Unfortunately, it is. And social media is a big reason to blame for all of this. And we'll talk about some NBA. Shamus is going to join as he always does on Tuesday. So he'll be on next 30, 40 minutes. So we'll talk about a bunch of different things with him as well. But I want to start today's show. And I was thinking last night watching the Tampa Bay Lightning. And it took me back to a podcast that we did back in September, where I had a few, I think Shamus was on, I know Casey was there, and maybe Sawyer, but we had 3 or 4 guys on the podcast. And we all ranked our top 10 players in the NHL. And I remember I was often, my lists are always different. I like certain players. I'm a little weird. I had Seth Jones 10. That's a little high. I'll openly admit that. But I had Andrei Vasilevsky number 2. And I remember pushback with, Draisaitl, Matthews, who I had at 7 at the time. Why are these guys so low? They're better than him. They're better than him. He's a goalie. Well, thinking back on that podcast and then watching last night's game, I think it just proves that I was right. I don't like to toot my own horn all that much, although sometimes I do. But in this case, I think I have to. Because there's no doubt that Connor McDavid's the best player in the NHL. But if you want a guy in a playoff game to seal you a series, to play fantastic, and to have the best goaltender in the world, it's Andrei Vasilevsky. And quite frankly, it's not even close. But to me, with 2 straight Stanley Cups, 10 straight series wins, the last 7 elimination starts, he's allowed 1 goal, 6 shutouts in those games, and has a .975 save percentage. Regular season, he might not be the best goalie. Other guys will win the Vezina. Other guys will steal the show. Matthews will score 60 goals. Adam Fox will have great points in the back end. Name a player. But to me, the second best player in the world is Andrei Vasilevsky. Because who is more valuable than him? Who is better in the biggest moments than number 88 on Tampa? I don't know if you can name me more than 97 the way he's played in the series against Calgary, or the first round for that matter. To start the playoffs, Andrei Vasilevsky was not great against Toronto. Gave up 5 in game 1. Gave up a loose 3 in game 3. Didn't play well in game 5. But since game 6 against the Toronto Maple Leafs, in particular the third period, Andrei Vasilevsky has been rock solid. In 4 games against the Florida Panthers, he allowed 3 goals. He has been incredible for this team. He has been their backbone. 49 save shutout last night. Now he got crossbars, he got posts, but you're going to get breaks. Florida got breaks last night, 2 review goals, which we're going to get into in a minute. But Vasilevsky is the second best hockey player in the world, period. To me, he might win another cup this year. That would be 3 in a row. He might win another Conn Smythe. That'd be 2. Already a lock Hall of Famer. And he's a young guy. But I just find it incredible that, you can sweep teams. Tampa got swept by Columbus, but you can, Colorado swept Nashville. Golf clap for you. But to sweep the Florida Panthers, who set a record for the most goals in a single season, who had record-setting seasons from Jonathan Huberdeau, Carter Verhaeghe, Barkov, Ekblad. You go down the list, almost every player on that roster had a career season. They scored 3 goals in this series. Now, does Ryan McDonough deserve credit? Does Chernak? Of course. But ultimately, who made the saves? Andrei Vasilevsky. Tampa looks scary. They looked tired in that first round against the Leafs, but they found it when they had to. And other than last night, they were the better team 3 of the 4 games against the Florida Panthers. And even when they're not the best team, they find a way to win because you have that ace in the hole. But, and you look ahead, they're going to play the Carolina Hurricanes or the New York Rangers. They have some rest. They're guaranteed to get at least a few days. I think Carolina and New York is going to go deep. I could see that going 7 games. And I'll talk about the home road splits from both those teams in a little bit. But, excuse me. But I don't think to Tampa, it matters who they play. New York does not play a really structured game. They're young. They play loose. Shesterkin's a great goalie. It's not Vasilevsky. He's good. He's not Vasilevsky. So I like Tampa's chances. And you'd say, well, Carolina's a great defensive team. Very true. They're smart. They got a great defense core. They got a lot of components that could win you a Stanley Cup. However, Carolina is the carbon copy of the New York Islanders. They play very similar. They have a very structured coach. They play a system. The Tampa Bay Lightning defeated the New York Islanders back-to-back the last 2 years in the conference finals. So it would be like playing the New York Islanders, just Carolina. So I'm looking forward to the rest of this second round series. I think it'll be fun. It'll be competitive. But after that, I don't expect either team to give Tampa that much run for their money. Maybe they will. But when you have momentum like they do, just think of this. We know the story. Patrick Maroon's won 3 cups in a row, and it's a good story. He's the big rig, all of that. Patrick Maroon, in his playoff career, has 2 series-clinching goals. He's a fourth-line player, but he has 2. Just to put this into perspective, Sidney Crosby has 1. Patrick Maroon has more series-clinching goals than Sidney Crosby. Just a fun fact for the day. That's what Corey Perry has turned back the clock. I love it because nobody wanted him, and he's making them pay for it. Good. Kucherov had a fantastic series against the Florida Panthers. I thought he was their best forward by a country mile. But you get contributions from Ross Colton. Big Nick Paul is playing really well. Belmar. And, how you win, you build from the net out, right? Vasilevsky, I won't go more into him. I could do a whole podcast on him, but I won't. Hedman, who's playing fantastic. Ryan McDonough, who will block anything, and I think he's one of the smartest defensemen in the NHL, period. You have Sergachev, Chernak, who's a beast. They're loaded. They're loaded, and what was so funny, I see the sweep last night, and it wasn't about Florida and all what they traded for with the deadline and how it was a failure of a season and maybe Brunette's going to get fired. What was the sentiment on Twitter? If only the Leafs had got by the Lightning. Of course. You got to bring them back in the conversation somehow, right? Sportsnet, right? TSN. I don't know if Toronto would have beat Florida. It's a completely different series, completely different team the way they play. That's no guarantee. Pittsburgh's going to say the same thing about Carolina. If that makes you feel better about losing, good for you. You're still not playing. You're still golfing. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up because I thought it was funny. But this team can play any type of game. They'll play physical. They'll block shots. They'll play 2-1. They'll play 1-0. Whatever style of game you want to play, Tampa can do it. And I wouldn't want to play them. They look scary as hell. And now they get to rest. Maybe Point could come back. Chernak was obviously hurting in that series. Stamkos was hurting. They get to rest. They get to heal up. They'll be better suited, the longer this goes. Now, Florida. This was a failure of a season. Winning your round, you look at it, they won their first playoff round since 1996. Yes, that is a success in the macro scale. Micro, just looking at it in the smallest version. But it was a failure. It was a failure of a season because you went all in. You traded for Drew. You traded for Sherratt. You unloaded first-round picks. You traded away Frank Vetrano to New York, who's still playing pretty well. You trade away people. You acquire guys. In New York, they've offloaded a couple pieces to you, are still playing in the postseason. They're going to play at least farther than you because you got swept. They've won a game in their series, Game 4 tonight at Madison Square Garden. I had Florida winning the cup before the season started. I'm wrong. I thought they'd have more. I look at one guy in particular. This series was not about Bobrovsky. He normally takes the brunt of the blame, not this year. He got outplayed by a better goalie. True. But you score 3 goals in 4 games. Who's winning that series? No one. There's no goalie that's doing better than that. Shesterkin, Markstrom, name who you want. Patrick Roy, he's not winning that series. Vasilevsky's better. Jonathan Huberdeau was a ghost, was irrelevant, was a non-factor the entire postseason. I've never seen him. The regular season, he was one of the best players in the NHL. I think he was right there to be nominated for the Hart. If he wasn't a winger, he would have been. They don't like nominating wingers, whatever. But he sucked in these playoffs. He had 4 points in 10 games. But not just the points, but are you at least having an impact on the game? Are you creating opportunities? Are you skating? Are you doing anything that would make you say, okay, I see Hubert over there. He is on the ice. He has a pulse. No. Huberdeau and Barkov were just quiet. Too quiet. It was as if they were going through a January fog, or they go through a couple weeks where you're just like, they didn't really have a great stretch. You can't have that this time of year. You can't get away with playing this poor, especially against this team. Aaron Ekblad is hurt. He was hurt coming into the playoffs, meaning he's not going to get any better. I thought he had a decent series. He was their best player last night by a country mile. But he's playing hurt, and he had more heart, had more fight than Jonathan Huberdeau. Huberdeau sucked. Barkov sucked. When your best players don't bring it, you're not going to win. They're lucky they beat Washington because these 2 players were lifeless then. Carter Verhaeghe had 12 points. Thank God, because Huberdeau only had 3 in that series. And again, he was Casper. He was to the outside. I don't know if he wanted to become Artemi Panarin, or he's just Mr. Perimeter, or he becomes Shower 2.0 as my nickname for Artemi Panarin, because he's afraid or just unwilling to go to the middle of the ice. But Huberdeau was a non-factor. Verhaeghe didn't have a good series. Weegar was out to lunch in this series, who I do like. I think he's a good player. He was no good. It was just a disaster of epic proportions. And not to mention, last night, there's a penalty, delay game Palat, 2:47 left. Andrew Brunette does not pull the goalie. What are you fucking waiting for? Your season's on the line. There's no tomorrow, buddy. Did you want to get to the links? You want to enjoy the weather? I don't know. But the stupidity, he has a whole minute where they have control of the puck. He pulls Bobrovsky as Tampa's clearing the puck down the ice. It made no sense. It was idiotic, quite frankly. I don't know why he did it. There's no explanation if I was a president owner that said, why did you make that decision? Nothing would make me understand it. He was just nominated, pardon me, for Coach of the Year. He might win it. Who knows? I don't know if he's going to be brought back. He was an interim coach, and the expectation was win a cup. You couldn't win a game against Tampa. You couldn't win a game. With that goalie pull, you can't win a game. Your superstars aren't motivated. Then there's a report that a few players are at the strip club after losing Sunday night. I don't think he's brought back. I don't think I'd bring him back. Do I think he's a pretty decent coach? Yes. But he wasn't good in this series. His team wasn't great. His superstars weren't ready to play. Florida, you missed an opportunity. Huber will be back. Barkov, yes. But you trade away a lot of capital. You don't have a whole lot of salary cap. Your team's not going to be as good as next year as it was this year. That's what you're looking at. You know that from the get-go. Drew's not going to be back. He was decent in these playoffs. Sherrod's not going to be back. He was okay in these playoffs. But you missed an opportunity. Sometimes players and coaches can take the brunt of it because I know how bad Huberdeau and Barkov were. But you also look and say, Brunette, what the hell are you doing? I think the only thing he was focused on in this series was challenging goals. I just want to see if I'm thinking of anything with the Panthers. I mean, they got Huberdeau under contract, Barkov, Ekblad, who was great. They got Uyghur under contract. So they got their nucleus. But Marchment's a free agent. I don't know if they'll be able to afford to keep him. He's a good player. I like him a lot. They didn't play Anton Lundell. He's a player that you probably haven't heard of much. He's going to be a really good player. I think in the next 2-3 years, he will lead the NHL in shorthanded goals. Really strong. He's a perfect third-line center. He's young. He's 20. So he'll have a good impact on the Panthers for years to come. But I don't know why he didn't play more in this series, because why play Barkov and them when they were doing nothing effectively? And yeah, I don't know Brunette. You have Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight, who will likely both come back. I think they'll be tempted to move Bobrovsky with that $10.5 million salary cap, because then it creates a lot more opportunity to improve your roster. If they believe Spencer Knight can lead a team to the promised land as soon as next year, I think they'll try to make that trade, but it'll be harder. It'll be hard to do it with that $10.5 million. But Bobrovsky was good this season. He was good in these playoffs. He's not the reason they lost. But I expect to see changes in Florida because they did a lot to win. Their players were garbage, and their coach wasn't great either. Now, let's get to video review. Video review. I know the general thought of video review in every sport is we want to get the call right. Okay? I can understand that. I wouldn't want to be playing a game and I lose because the ref didn't make the right call. However, I played sports growing up. I'm sure a lot of you did. We didn't have video review. You relied on the ref that was on the ice to make a call. Didn't always love it. I got into a lot of verbal altercations with referees. I was given unsportsmanlike conduct. I was actually suspended for telling a ref to go F off. So I'm accustomed to that. But last night, in the Florida-Tampa game, there was 2 goals called back. And yes, they got the appropriate call on both of them. But to me, that is irrelevant. The fact that it takes 10 minutes to decide if a puck hits the netting or not is not worth it if it was the right call to me. And I don't think it matters to the to the customer either. If you're a casual fan, you're turning away from that game. You're like, oh, there's a Seinfeld rerun on CW. I'll watch that, and you forget the game's even on. And then you're in bed, and you're like, okay, well, the game. I'll check who wins in the morning. 10 minutes of sitting there. Like, Brett, I see. I'm going to. That's coming up. Yeah, that's next. That's the next segment. To take a minute later in the pod to appreciate the play of Nazem Kadri. I certainly will. And I won't forget that. But have to get this out because it just bothers me. Why does it take 10 minutes? If we have all this great technology, if we're so smart and you got all these cameras, figure it out quicker. It can't take 10 minutes. I'm sorry. Do you want it to be basketball? Do you want it to be college football? You have to review every little play. Have a microchip in the puck. If it hits the netting, it goes to the ref. It tells them to blow the whistle. Otherwise, why have the refs on the ice? These four morons couldn't find it out last night, so you have to challenge. Yes, the game's quick, but he shot the puck. It hit it off the netting. That's not a quick play like it was on the draw play for the Kucherov goal that was then called back. If these four dinglings cannot make the call, then get somebody else that fucking can. Period. I hate video review. I wish it wasn't a part of the game. If I was running a league, it would be out of every sport. Because you have officials for a reason. Either let them do their job or find somebody else that can. Because why are they out there if you have to go to the headset every 5 minutes, and then it takes 10 minutes for for these idiots to figure out what the call was? It can't take that long. Period. Now, to Brennan's point, let's get to Nazem. Let's get to Colorado Avalanche and Nazem Kadri. First of all, let's go back to Game 5, where Nazem Kadri's got the puck. He's going towards the net. He's with Colton Parayko, and he collides with Jordan Binnington. And at first look, you're like, oh, it's Nazem Kadri. It's got to be a dirty play. His playoff history, he's been suspended in the playoffs 3 different times. It wasn't that type of play. Parayko pushed him in. I think now every time you hit a goalie and a player pushes you in, you seem to get the call for it, which another thing I think should be rectified. But I can only change so many things one day. But anyway, Jordan Binnington is injured on the play. He's out for the series, which is unfortunate because I think if he wasn't, St. Louis could have won this series. But nevertheless, he's injured on the play. After the game, the St. Louis, I'm not even going to say they're fans because I think these people are just scum. But these St. Louis faithful, these Blues fanatics, if you will, decide to take to social media and start to threaten, to throw racist tirades at Nazem Kadri, including, I read one this morning that said that they hope that he would get in a plane and it would blow up like the people in his country do. This isn't funny, that type of stuff. That's not... People that take to social media that threaten other people's lives can only be defined one way. They're losers. They're losers. You have so little life that you have to go on there and just completely... That's crossing a line. Like when Jay Gardner was told he was going to be killed. Like that's serious shit. There was reports on there, I'm going to find you, Nazem Kadri, you scum of the earth, and I'm going to kill you. Like, that's never allowed. That's never okay. It's disgusting. It's racist. And it's a fucking hockey game. It's a hockey game. Losers and absolutely need mental help. And I thought about this morning. These type of people, you should find their information and they should be put on a watch list. And I mean this openly. We see all these, and this is a bigger topic, but I want to talk about it. There's school shootings. There's these looters and people get shot at protests and different types of things. These people should not be allowed to purchase weapons because you lost that privilege after what you threatened to do to other human beings. Nazem Kadri is born in fucking Canada. Even if he was from India, from anywhere in the world, that does not make him a terrorist. But these people threatening him are terrorists because they're fucking racist. And I get this is a bigger topic, but it just bothers me that it's almost funny. It's talked about, oh, this is so bad. Do something about it that can have some actual change. People saying, oh, that's so bad. That's too bad. Like government people that have the authority. I don't. I'm just a talking hairdo here. But if I could think of this idea, maybe you could put into effect. You know their names on social media. Find their information. Put them on a list. Like Nazem should not have to go through this. It was an unfortunate play where Jordan Binnington got hurt. It was not dirty. It was unfortunate. These people need to get a fucking life and just, anyway. So, then Craig Berube says, oh, his history was a dirty play. Okay, whatever. Hoping for a suspension that didn't come. No fine. Should have. Wasn't a dirty play. So all these racist stuff, a lot of fodder for Nazem Kadri going into last night's game. And how about he responds with a hat trick and a 4-point night? I picked St. Louis to win the series. With Binnington, I think they could have. I think they would have won Game 3 Saturday night. But this was a defining moment. This was just a euphoric moment for Nazem Kadri, who has had a career where in Toronto he was a good player and he gets suspended at inopportune times and he makes stupid decisions. But it just looks different right now. He could have lost his temper last night, but he didn't. David Perron did. Kyrou did. Guys on St. Louis lost their temper and he made them pay. He was dominant. He scores timely goals. He tells the St. Louis crowd to eat it, which I love. Give it back to them. They booed him every time he touched the puck. Well, he was the best player on the ice last night. Nathan McKinnon's a great player. He hasn't been the best player in this series. I look at the defense of Colorado, and I look at the Kadri line with Rantanen and Nichushkin. They've been dominating this series. But for Nazem to take all that negativity, to get bombarded by people like Berube and saying that he's a dirty player and that he did it on purpose, and to respond the way that he did is the perfect way to do it. I think in the past, he takes a stupid penalty last night, maybe gets suspended. He's learned from it finally. It took him 3 times. But he seemed to learn from it. He's got a different vibe this year. I think he was the best player on either team last night. He played fantastic. And just kudos to him for being the bigger person, for taking it on the chin. And he needed his personal security in St. Louis last night. And he left that city in flames because he was the best player, and they're down 3-1. It's so unfortunate Binnington got hurt. But it's just like the Sammy Girard injury. It's unfortunate Sammy Girard got hurt. Barbashev just hits really, really hard. Unfortunately, Kadri was coming in fast. Parayko pushed him in. Kadri's not a dirty player. He always plays his heart out. Tom Wilson is a dirty player. I like both players. I don't think Tom Wilson's a dirty player per se. I think plays on the edge. Kadri, again, he's another guy that plays on the edge. But I see your point. They've both been suspended multiple times. So they both have their negatives about them. They both aren't exactly the smartest in all the right situations, but they're both really effective players when they want to be. Tom Wilson's won a Stanley Cup, was a big part of winning one. Nazem Kadri, if Colorado wins this year, he'll be a big part of it. And I didn't feel great about Colorado coming into the season, coming into the playoffs, because I've seen them in the past years and they couldn't get it done. They look different this year. They're playing different. They're not getting bogged down. They can play any way you want. Good to see Alex Newhook get involved into the lineup last night. I thought he played really well. I keep him in the lineup, Jared Bednar. But, like I said, McKinnon and Landeskog haven't been the best players in this series. You look at Kadri, you look at the back end. Taves gets another goal last night. Eric Johnson gets on the board. Kadri with a hat trick. It was just Makar's been great. They lose Sammy Girard. Unfortunate. Gators Rock Tim T. Do you think my cat should trade Uyghur? Good question. I don't think he played well in the playoffs. I think that's pretty easy to know there. I don't think they should trade him just for the sake of trading him. If they can get something good in return, then potentially, yeah. I would say this. I think we learned this about the Florida Panthers in these playoffs. I think Aaron Ekblad's a number one defenseman. He was hurt. I still think he played extremely well. I don't think Mackenzie Weegar's a number two. So I think he's a number three defenseman, and that's great. You need those guys to be. He's an offensive-minded guy. He doesn't make great decisions in his own zone. Yeah, I like Ben Sherrod a lot as well. If they could keep him for a good term, good money, I would be open to that as well. I do think I like Forsling. I keep Forsling. I think he's improved a lot. I keep him on the back end. I still like Gudis. The analytics, Goonie doesn't love him, but I love his physical nature and the way he plays the game. But I do think they need a number two defenseman. Montour looked like that. He'd be like that in Anaheim. He just never really got there. He's old enough now where I don't think he's going to take that next step in all likelihood. But, if Uyghur had to go for salary reasons and you find a way to get a number two defenseman on this team, I think that would help them a lot. Because, like I said, Bobrovsky wasn't the reason they lost. I look at their top forwards. They were no good. Just irrelevant in this series. But what'll be interesting is how much Ben Sherratt wants and what's his market like. Because there isn't a whole lot of great UFA defensemen going to be available. But maybe he'll take a little less to stay. I mean, Giordano's off the market. He re-signed in Toronto over the weekend for a hometown discount. Maybe Sherratt really likes it in Florida. I don't know how much they liked him because, again, he had his moments where he looked good and others where he was really struggling. So I think that'll be what they'll try to do is I think they'll talk to him before free agency for sure, just to gauge him and see what he wants. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I probably wouldn't pay him more than $3. I think his last contract, he was making $3.5, which was a really good value deal, or $4.5, sorry, which was a good signing by Montreal at the time. Really good signing. I don't know if he's playing at as high a level as he was obviously last year in the playoffs, but then again, he wasn't playing with a guy like Shea Weber. So if you could, perfect world, you keep Sherratt, still have Ekblad, and you get another top-end defenseman on the Florida Panthers, and if Uyghur has to go to make that happen, that's just a casualty of business. It's just a way that just has to happen for you to move forward. But again, there's finding top defensemen that teams are willing to part with is extremely difficult. I do think we're going to see a bidding war for Jacob Chychrun. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be involved in this. I think the Florida Panthers are going to be involved in this. I even think a team like the Ottawa Senators are going to be involved in this. Because Ottawa, I think, is tired of being mediocre, tired of being just outside the playoffs. They have Thomas Chabot. The rest of their defense core is very lackluster. I think they'll make a play for Chychrun. They got a lot of prospects. They have more prospects than the Toronto Maple Leafs and or the Florida Panthers. You could argue that the Florida Panthers have more proven NHL talent. But I think Florida would love to get a Jacob Chychrun, who's a good term under contract for Florida, just pontificating. You could potentially, you might have to move Sam Reinhart to do it. And I like Sam Reinhart, but that's something you might have to do to improve your team. What about trading for Alexiak? Yeah, I think that's another move. I think they could get him for pretty cheap from Seattle. He's won a Stanley Cup. He's a good defenseman. Obviously, he was on a bad team last year, so it's hard for him to look good. But I guess I'm wondering who the swap would be. Like if he replaces a Forsling, or he could be the replacement for Sherratt potentially, because they do play similar. They're both defensive minded. They're both big bodied defensemen. I think Alexiak moves a little better than Sherratt does at this point of his career. But that's something that could happen. Yeah, that's if you can't get Sherratt, Alexiak is an interesting name to throw in there. But I do think Florida. I do think could be in on Chychrun. Yeah, and Alexiak, he's 6'7". Alexiak, he's big. He'll fight. He's brings a lot. I think if you have Alexiak and Gudas on the same defense core, it's not easy to deal with. They're both a couple of nasty pieces of business. And I think Florida is going to make a lot of changes because, yes, they had a President's Trophy, but you just got swept by your cross-state rival. And it wasn't even that close. So you need to do something. You need to make a major change. I don't think Barkov and Huberdeau would necessarily go. But I think Duclair's traded in the offseason. He was a healthy scratch last night. I think that tells you a lot about where he ended up at the end of the year. Reinhart's a good player, but Reinhart and Bennett, if you could get a better defenseman, if you could prove your team and you have to lose one of them, I think you'd do it. So I expect a lot of changes from Florida this offseason. Colorado, like I said, they look good. Their back end, that second line's been rocking. For the Blues, Huberdeau passed the puck. Agreed. What this offseason he needs to work on is just shoot the puck. Like just he needs to improve. His shot got better, but I do think it needs to improve some because Vasilevsky, you could see, with McDavid, you have because Huberdeau, I think, is the next best passer to McDavid in the league. He has to hide the fact, he can't go all the way over to block Kane. He has to respect the shot of McDavid on 2-on-1s and odd-man rushes. Where I think often the goaltender, Vasilevsky in this case, said, you know what, I'll give Huberdeau the shot because he's not going to anyway. But he needs to shoot the puck more, getting better high-quality scoring opportunities because he got over 100 points. I think he can get 35 goals, 40 goals if he really wants to and be a good goal scorer alongside Barkov in that core. For St. Louis, I think they're done. Ville Husso didn't play well last night, doesn't look confident. And Perron's been fantastic and O'Reilly. But other than that, I call it the AARP line. Robert Thomas has been a big disappointment in these playoffs. I expected more from him. Tarasenko has been a ghost in these playoffs. Barbashev's a bottom-of-the-line player, but you need a little more from him. Kairu's been inconsistent. So they've had their top line of veteran players that have done it. But if they're going to get back in this series, they need Thomas. They need Tarasenko. They need the veterans on this team to produce. They haven't yet. And that would concern me because in a must-win game, you're asking Robert Thomas. Tarasenko was there when they won the Cup, and he was good when they did it. But again, he's been really quiet. Parayko scored goals, but you need some of those forwards to do something, to produce. Perron has 9 goals. He's doing everything he can. Their back end is hurt. So, Buchnevich, I even look around, saw it. Braden Shen has been really, really quiet. But for St. Louis, they're beat up, they're hurt, they're just kind of dragging along right now. Colorado's back home, they have all the momentum. It would really impress me if St. Louis could win that game because I don't expect them to. Because I look at the way Colorado's played, they look confident, they played extremely well, and I expect them to close it out on Wednesday night. I thought St. Louis could go far. I think they could have won this series if they had Binnington and they got a little bit of better luck. But Colorado has got through the breaks. Kemper's played well, and it looks like Colorado's going to get back to a conference final. The other Western Series is the All-Canadian Series where, Connor McDavid has been an absolute animal in these playoffs. If there was any doubt about who the best player on the planet was before, those are dead. It's not Austin Matthews, who might win the Hart, regular season MVP. Draisaitl, it doesn't matter. It's Connor McDavid because this guy has just been unfreaking believable the entire playoffs. The other night, it was as if it was a video game in Game 3. But the crazy thing was it looked that way for the whole Edmonton team because Calgary never had the puck. They couldn't control. They couldn't get the puck in the neutral zone. They get the puck, they turn it over. And it was as if you're playing, NHL 22 and you're on easy mode. Or you're playing, whatever the lowest mode. I don't play that video game anymore. It's trash. But it was like playing against little kids, like playing ball hockey against 2-year-olds. And for Calgary, who's such a good structured team, who's been really good all year, they look completely out of sorts. How many times McDavid, Evander Kane on 2-on-1s and on-man rushes, he dances Noah Hannafin, who's a good, solid defensive defenseman. And his passing, his play overall, he's being physical, which is a different side of Connor McDavid. He's not afraid to mix it up. I love to see it from him because he's showing a different side. He's playing extremely well. He's so engaged. He's getting back defensively. And we got Game 4 tonight in Edmonton. I still think Calgary will win this. I'm having less and less faith, but Calgary's the better team. They should win this series. But if the Edmonton Oilers win tonight, it's over. And I truly believe if the Edmonton Oilers win tonight, pack it up, Calgary. Tkachuk can go serve beer in Game 6 because there won't be one. And I don't love this player, but kudos to Evander Kane because he's getting chirped about being bankrupt, which I find funny, from Matthew Tkachuk. But he's got 10 goals. He's first. David Perron's second in goal scoring in the NHL playoffs. Who had that in the ticket? Not even me. Kudos to him for accepting a role and finding it because he's playing fantastic. I see on the horn we got fresh off the big win over the Washington Nationals last night. I think it was a 10-1 win. Didn't watch any of the game, but saw that they won. Off a big, long weekend. He's always here on Tuesdays. It's Shamus Fillmore. Shay, good to see you.
Hey, man. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I don't know why this always happens with us. Every other person I tag in, it always works. I don't know.
Hello?
1 second here.
Can you hear me now? Well, we'll see what the comments got going on down there. Brennan's down there. Lucic, Renda Smith took Evans to another level, I think. I wonder how many people remember when Lucic ran Ryan Miller. That was hysterical. Oh, the Lucic controversy. In the comments, if anyone wants to know who thinks who's the dirtier player, Kadri or Lucic? I'd love for someone to answer that question. Brennan, you're going to be biased because you're a Leafs fan, so you're definitely not going to say Nazem Kadri.
We gotcha.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I gotcha now. How are things?
Good. It's always me, eh? I'm the
Yeah,
best.
I don't know why. I still haven't figured that out, but yeah. No, good to see you. I got the jersey on a Tuesday.
Yeah, feeling good after a long weekend. It's
Yeah,
things are good.
how was the weekend?
Good. Yeah, things were good. Got to watch a lot of sports, but got a lot of yard work done. So feeling like an actual adult here. But yeah, no, it's things have been good. A lot of great sports over the weekend. More importantly, what an ending to a PGA championship that no one could have predicted.
Well, somebody might have live bet on Thomas, but I don't know.
What?
We'll get to that in a minute. I might have
Okay.
live bet on Thomas that day, just for Casey. I didn't tell him that, but I might have.
Hope he's listening.
I was talking about Oilers, but I want to go back to this. Seeing Nazem Kadri succeed the way he has, do you have reservations about that? Does that anger you? Being a former Leaf and the way that went, how do you feel about Kadri's success so far this postseason with the Avalanche?
Oh, I mean, I think what he's doing is great. I'm not. I think he is a slight way. He's still doing his own thing. He's always been that player, and running Binnington or not Runnington, but depending on how you look at it. But he's causing controversy, but at the same time, he's backing up with unbelievable play. So, am I a little salty that maybe he didn't play like that when he was wearing blue and white? Yeah, a tad bit. But I mean, Kadri's always going to be Kadri. He's never going to change. He's done the same. You look at his past 3 postseasons. He's got a sussy in all of them. So
Yeah.
clearly, there's a pattern there. And if taking out the opposing team's star goaltender is going to get you to another level, then that's what it's going to take. So if he can take the lickings online, and he clearly loves it, he fed off that. He scored a hat trick last night in a huge game. That's basically sealed the deal, in my opinion. I think Colorado. I don't see St. Louis coming back from that.
No, it's done. I think when Binnington got hurt, it ended the series because I think they would have won Saturday night if he stayed in the game, but because they were playing far superior to Colorado. But yeah, I mean, they survived the first period last night, and then it was just the Kadri show where they got pissed off. Perron takes one of the dumbest penalties I've ever seen, and he scored. The fact that he scored at the end of the power play, and then he looked at the crowd. I loved it. And the way the racist stuff that was directed towards him over the last 40, it was just truly disgusting. I don't think the play was dirty, quite honestly. I think Parayko pushed him into the goalie. Like I think that's something we're seeing more and more where defensemen are like getting pissed off when they push the player into their own goalie. And it happened last night briefly. Lucic, we can get into that in a minute, but like I don't think that was a dirty play. I don't think it was suspension worthy. He didn't get fined or anything. Like I think that was the correct course of action.
Yeah, and it's a dual-edged sword. If he gets fined and he gets suspended, the NHL is George Barros is doing his job finally. And when he doesn't, it's like, oh, well, where the hell's the call on that? So
Right.
I feel for those guys because that's a tough decision. But ultimately, I agree with you. I think he made the right one. And like he likes to say it was a loose puck and he went to the net, and that's all you can say.
Yeah, I mean, 4 points last night. He just good for him because he's been through a lot over the course of his career with suspensions and stupid plays and things of that nature. The Lucic situation where he goes into Mike Smith late in that game. The game's over at this point. Was that different for you?
It felt a little different. I had to watch it from a couple. I kept seeing it from the same angle, probably the same for you, and I had to see it from a different angle to know if it was some contact going in. But I was telling you before when you were off, I said, does anyone remember Ryan Miller and what happened to him? I mean,
Yeah.
Lucci just got a history of running goalies and, trying to be a difference maker, which he can do without having to do those type of things. So I feel like that was a little bit more intentional than Kadri's was.
Mm.
Does he intend to, hurt Mike Smith? I hope not, or at least I don't think so, but it's hard to say with him because he's just got such a streaky past, just like Kadri does.
Yeah, I definitely think he meant to do it, and they gave him a 5 in a game. I'm good with that. Like, he's gonna play tonight. I don't think it's suspension or anything, but I mean, Calgary was just so out to lunch Sunday night. I mean, they didn't have the puck. Like, for 99% of that game, they didn't have, like, they just were chasing it. And I think Lucic was like, okay, enough of this. What can I do to piss some people off? And probably thinking, how can I get them off their game and focused on me going into game 4, where maybe he's the wrong guy to do it, because I don't think there's anybody on that Edmonton roster that really has any interest in dealing with Milan Lucic, because it's not going to end up well for them.
Yeah. Even Vander, who you talked about before I hopped on, he's got 10 goals. He probably doesn't want to risk a hand injury or, getting effed up for the best part of it, because he's more valuable on the other end of the ice instead of trying to defend and trying to be the tough guy, because, it's just more his game at this point. I think you just kind of have to pull the excuse and just say we have to let it go. Obviously, we don't like it, but you saw where it brought St. Louis. St. Louis, I think Craig Berube at one point said that, we're not going to retaliate on Kadri, and that's exactly what they did, and they got pumped for it. So I think you got to stay away from that and keep your mind focused. And I mean, there's opportunities to take jabs at Lucic and to do stuff to him. You just got to find the right opportunity to do it and not do it stupidly, like you mentioned David Perron did or last night.
Yeah, you mentioned like Evander Kane. Maybe he hits Gaudreau, and it's a clean hit, but it's a big hit. That would piss Lucic off more than anything, because it's a star player. He's on the ground, and he could be hurt, or at least he's feeling it like that. That's the kind of stuff in the playoffs where I think that's how you get back in a player.
Do you go eye for eye and try to get at Markstrom, or is that off the table?
I think you don't, because I think the refs going to be so hyper aware of it, and I think even if they see, because Lucic did get 5 in a game, the game was out of hand, so it didn't matter. But I mean, if you do it in the first period or something, I wouldn't poke the bear there, because I'm sure they're hyper aware. I think, the referees always get talked to by Peros and the player safety department before games. And they're like, okay, if you see this, none of it, like, get rid of it, be aware of it and be harsh with the penalty. So I think Edmonton just play like you did the other night. Yeah. That's, beat them in this series. That's how you get back at them. Like, Lucic will be at home golfing with Tkachuk and all them. And you're into a conference final where in mid-February, it looked like you might not make the playoffs, and now you could be, playoffs, and you could be in the damn conference final with a 1-in-4 chance of winning the whole damn thing.
Yeah, no one's gonna rule them out with 97.
No,
because he's doing amazing things, like groundbreaking things for this generation. So I hope he keeps it up, and I have no ball in this fight. Obviously we both picked Calgary, so that was our team. I think if Calgary keeps cool head, they'll probably win tonight. But that's the main thing. Do they go out and start chopping away and start trying to get dirty, or do they just play a consistent game like they could do in the regular season?
Yeah, and Gaudreau, Tkachuk, that line has to be good tonight, because they weren't the other night, to say the least.
Together.
Yeah, they need to find it. Lightning sweep the Panthers.
I have a guest star for this.
Okay.
Can I bring him in?
Yes.
I want to bring this in for all the Panther fans out there. Just saw it laying around the house, kind of remind me of them. And what a pathetic performance those 4 games were. So yeah, go ahead, give your analysis. I'm just going to keep him on for a little longer.
No, I saw this on Twitter last night, and I can ask you because you're a fan. I don't know why the thought immediately went to this, but again, it was Sportsnet, so why am I surprised? The thought was if only Toronto had beaten Tampa, it would have been a cakewalk for the Leafs. Are you in that same thinking, or is it a different series? How does that go?
I don't think it's a cakewalk by any means. I'm not that naive to how good Florida is, but I do think we would have beat them, clearly. Unless Florida had a different mindset for both organizations. But it seems like they just were out to lunch. Their stars were out to lunch. And kudos to Vasilevsky in that game 4 shutout to end it, and he had like 44, 45 saves.
49 saves.
So clearly it was on his back to get it done, and he did. So I give more kudos to Tampa than Florida messing it up. Do you feel the same, or do you feel Florida fumbled the bag more than Tampa played really well?
I think Tampa played really well because I don't think they played that well against your Leafs. And I thought they played in the 3 games. I thought they played really well. The first 3. Last night they got outplayed handily, but then you have that boogeyman back there that can do anything. But 2 things can be true. I thought Huberdeau was horrible in these playoffs. Horrible. I'm so disappointed in him. Sasha Barkov, all he did last night was take stupid penalties. That's the only thing I remember him doing. Brian Hart was quiet. Ekblad was hurt coming into the playoffs, and he gave more of an effort last night than the rest of them. I think there's going to be big changes in Florida. I don't think Brunette will be back. The fact that he did not pull the goalie with 2:47 left when they had a power play was one of the most idiotic things I've ever seen. It made no sense. I was looking at the TV saying, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, it took too long for that one.
Yeah, and the review. I got into the reviews earlier. I won't go back into that topic because that just gives me a fucking ulcer. But I think Tampa's only getting stronger, and when you have the second best player in the world in net, it's hard to lose a series.
Yeah, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, God, Braden Point didn't play a game in this series.
Yeah,
this was the ultimate opportunity for Florida to take advantage of something, and yeah, like you said, the scoring effort wasn't there, and they just got outclassed by a team who's done it again and again and again and again, time after time. So kudos to Tampa and more than Florida fumbling it, but yeah, I'm gonna put my friend away, but bye Florida fans. I don't know if there is probably not many Florida fans here, but if there is,
yeah, they're having a tough day. They're definitely having a tough day because they went all in and it ultimately didn't work out for them. Let's talk. I guess with Vasilevsky.
Okay.
At the beginning of the year, I don't know if you remember this. We did our podcast. I think Casey was on it. Sawyer might have been there. We did our top 10 players. Yeah. And I had Vasilevsky too. And I remember there was initially some pushback from you guys. And I think a few people were mad that Matthews wasn't higher on my list. And anyway, I won't get into that right now. But is he the second best player in these playoffs?
Oh, just in the playoffs?
I think he's in general, but it just go in the playoffs.
That's a good question. Because he had those games in Toronto where he maybe wasn't out to lunch, but game 1, he let up
game
5
1, game 3, he wasn't great. But since game 6, third period, he's been unreal.
Yeah, I would say when it comes to counting and when it comes to crunch time, he's the best by far. I still think McDavid's been the best player in the playoffs, but I think Vasilevsky, yeah, he's probably, if he's not number 2, he may be number 3.
Yeah, just last 7 series clinching games, 6 shutouts, 975 save percentage. That's hey, your Leafs got a goal on them. They're a team in the last 7 elimination games. They were the one team to get a goal on them.
I know you don't like speaking about hypothetical, but how many games do you think it would have took Toronto to beat this Florida team if we lived in some weird alternate universe where
Okay.
Toronto could get past
So
anybody?
Toronto was playing really well. Florida wasn't. Florida would have beat Toronto last night if, say, it's same type game because Campbell's not stopping 50 shots.
I agree.
Say 5.
Okay. Wow. So that's
Florida didn't play well. They
yeah.
didn't. They didn't play well. So game 1, they didn't. 5-6, I'd say. Yeah, I think Toronto would win too, but I also find that a loser's mentality that you're thinking, oh, if only we had won that series. Well, you didn't. You didn't
No,
win it.
yeah.
So it's irrelevant.
I agree.
Yeah. Hurricanes, Rangers. Do you have a feel where this series is going?
God, the little I've watched of it, I've only unfortunately got to watch at least, I'd say combined like 3 periods out of the 3 games, but I feel I'm gonna stick with it. I think New York's gonna turn it around, but they have to find a way to beat Carolina at home because
Yeah.
Carolina has just been they've just been a homer team where they just kind of collectively feed off the fans and the atmosphere in that building, which has been unbelievable. If anyone is going to watch a game tonight, tune into that because I think it's going to be. Oh no, never mind. It's in New York. Tune
Still
into
a good
game.
atmosphere tonight.
Yeah, and it will be an atmosphere. MSG has been rocking, and they want to see this team win. I still think I said it. I think we both, at least I did. I said New York in 7. I have it written in my notes beside me. I hope
I
that
like New
seems the
York
case,
too.
and I think they've, like I said before in the last podcast, they've caught a little bit of diversity and a little bit of persistence and being down against Pittsburgh, and I think they can come back in this series as well.
Yeah. They need to find a way to win one in Carolina because Carolina hasn't lost at home. They haven't won on the road, which is crazy. Just the home road splits.
I didn't know that. I didn't know
Yeah.
they haven't won.
Yeah, they haven't. It's crazy. But like top end talent, New York is superior because they got a better goalie. They got better. Like I love Slavin and D'Angelo. They're both great, but again, they're defensemen. They can only do so much. They got to protect their house as well.
Mhm.
There's been very few goals in this series. It's very
Tight.
checking, and there's not a whole lot of ice out there. But to me, I'm hard on this player because I know how good he is. Mr. Perimeter, Artemi Panarin, aka Shower, needs to wake the hell up and do something. Like just this first 3 games, he's done little to nothing. Kreider and Zibanejad weren't great either. The kid line's really been the best line with Kako, Lafreniere, and Hedl.
Yeah,
But
lucky.
he needs to be an impact player. Night in, night out. There's too many games where he just settles. He's out on the outside. Throw a puck cross ice that shouldn't be passed there, but he does it anyway. And I think if he's one of the top 10, 15 best players in the world, show it because they need him to step up. Again, I think it's a must win for them again tonight because, again, Carolina hasn't lost at home. So bank on winning tonight, work your ass off to win game 5, then you have a game at home to close it. I think that's the way New York wins this series because game 7 in Carolina would be tough to win.
Absolutely. I think, and you can, pipe in if you disagree, or I'm just going to throw it out there.
Yeah.
What Artemi does great, and what you'll see a lot of the times is he capitalizes on other teams' mistakes.
Yes.
And when you talk about being a perimeter player, that's where he is most dangerous, is because other defenders are out of position. And what's going on is Carolina's so good and into such a great system that their defenders, like Jacob Slavin, they don't leave their post, and they know not to make those mistakes and be out of position. And that's what's happening here. I think that's Panarin's bread and butter, is just being able to capitalize on in positions, and that just doesn't happen with Carolina.
No, that's an astute point, and also their forwards are really Trocheck.
Yeah,
I love Trocheck. He's a pain in the ass, but he's always on him, and he's in his face. He's like PJ Tucker. Like he's in your face all the time. Like he's just
like a bulldog.
he's a gnat. He's just a gnat. He's pissing you off. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter yesterday. It was Carolina beat writer. Freddie Anderson was on the ice for, I think, either practice or after practice. So there was a sighting Freddie Anderson, and then Jeff O'Neill wrote in the comments below, "What a warrior."
The O-Dog, what a
Yeah.
chirp.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
firing back at all Freddie Anderson.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, do they have previous beef, or is he just saying that because
I think he's just
Fred
saying that
Anderson?
because I mean, I don't know what his injury is. He's injured every year. Like, it's just, I think he's being facetious, obviously.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, with Freddie Anderson's like even a little bit healthy, are you going to risk putting him in over Auntie Rana?
No,
No.
Toronto's been great.
Yeah, he's reminding me of the Goodobin of the 2020 Cup Finals, where you don't really think anything of him until it's go time and he starts to shine a little bit. Just
Right.
does the steady.
Before we pivot,
I was going to ask one thing. Did you see the water bottle thing with Kadri and Bennington?
yeah.
What do you make of that? And is that for a guy who loves content, that must have been great for you?
I loved it. Yeah, because I'm cool with it from Bennington, because he's pissed off because he's like, I'm playing better than anybody, and your bleep ass did this to me. And I'm cool. That's the nature of the game. It's being competitive. Bennington's a loose cannon. He went after San Jose guys in the past, like chasing them around the building and stuff. So you got two loose cannons. I'm all for it. I love that stuff. So yeah, good for Bennington. You're out of the series. At least get your say.
Yeah, me too.
Before we pivot to the PGA and the NBA, did you see who interviewed for the Flyers head coaching job today?
I did not. Enlighten me.
Who would you like to guess who interviewed for the job today?
I'm going to say Barry Trotz.
No, he is an experienced head coach, however, just like Barry Trotz.
Okay.
He's not won a Stanley Cup. That's another.
Oh, he's not.
Oh, no, yes, he has won a Stanley Cup. I apologize. He is a Stanley Cup winner. It's been a minute.
Joel?
No.
Not Joel. Babs.
No. Oh. This guy won a Stanley Cup in a warm locale.
A warm location. Oh, geez.
Yes, extremely warm.
It's not Daryl.
You might have visited this state where he won the cup this spring.
Not Martin. No. Shoot, I was gonna say Marty. Oh, John.
John Tortorella.
John is back. He took the year off so that he could get some meditation in, and now he's ready to lose it on Kevin Hayes every other night. I love it.
So he interviewed for the Philadelphia Flyers job today. No word if he's going to get it, but he makes teams that are on the porous a lot better. Columbus, they were competitive there, and they weren't a great roster. They need a lot of damn help in Philly because that team is they're tough. But I think he'd be a good hire because he's a guy that's probably not going to win you a Stanley Cup. He's kind of like a guy that can get you to a certain level, and then you need another head coach. But he can lift you from the ashes and at least get you back into the playoffs and be competitive.
Yeah, because we're being honest, Philadelphia is they're on the brink of a total, strip and redown, and and they do need a guy like Tortorella in there to kind of snap it around and kind of get these young guys in check. Figure out what's going on with Carter Hart. Is he going to be able to save him, or is he just gone? So.
Yeah, so that's an interesting. I think Barry Trotz. I think Vegas should offer him whatever Barry Trotz wants and hire him.
I agree. That'd be awesome.
I think they could win a cup as soon as next year with that roster and a really good coach. Like that's something I'd be looking into. I have another prediction for you. This is not this is just a prediction from me. I believe next season Rick Bowness will be an assistant coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
What makes you say that?
Just intuition. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know they wanted to hire – they almost hired Brucey Boudreau as an assistant because he loves the Leafs so much. But Bowness has always been an assistant coach. He's been a really good one. I think he had a good run in Dallas. I don't think he'll get another head coaching job. But I don't think he's not so much of an ego guy that he wouldn't accept an assistant job. And maybe he'd want to do it in Toronto. So that's my one.
Yeah, I don't think he'll ever head coach again, but I think that's on preference. I don't think he'll actually interview for any.
Right.
I could be wrong on that. Maybe he wants to go. Maybe he wants to do a different gig, and he just need to change the scenery from Dallas. We'll see. He's over 70 years old. I
Yeah,
would not be surprised if he says, "Okay, I'm going to walk away and spend some time with the grandkids
yeah.
and their grandkids." Maybe I don't know how.
I keep coaching.
You keep coaching until you couldn't stand on the bench.
Yeah, if I knew I was coming home to grandkids, Jesus, I'd be still coaching. Do you want to talk basketball or PGA first?
I would love. I'm itching to talk about my Celtics and how happy
Okay,
I am.
let's do that. Games 3 and 4 couldn't have been more different. Three, I mean, the Celtics out to lunch in the second quarter, basically, and then last night, I mean, the Heat didn't make their first field goal until 3 minutes and 15 seconds left in the first quarter. It was over by the first quarter. Last night's game.
Mm-hmm.
2-2 heading back to Miami tomorrow night. How do you? It's been a weird series. How are you feeling as a Celtics fan battling through all this?
Up and down. I think, I kind of disagree with you in the game 3 part. I thought they played pretty well in the first, and then they kind of lost it in the second. And then, that's why even last night I'm still watching it like it's a 20. At one point there was a 30-point lead, and I'm still watching it just because I'm like, are they going to blow it again, or are they going to keep it going and maintain it? Ultimately, Miami lost themselves the game. Like you said, in the first quarter, they couldn't do anything. Their starters were out to lunch basically most of the game. If Victor Oladipo is your best player and he's been a bench player all year long, that's pretty great sign that you're not doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a battle of attrition because both these teams are really banged up. Because Smart didn't play last night, Hero didn't play. Jimmy Butler looks hurt to me.
Williams
He's
is
not
hurt
been as
from
explosive.
Boston.
I think Tatum's a little banged up. I think his shoulder might be a little hurt there. I think tomorrow night's the biggest. Obviously, it's the biggest game, but I think Celtics can find a way to win tomorrow night. They're winning the series in 6. They'll finish it at home, but yeah, Miami's tough because they keep credit to PJ Tucker in game 3 because I wasn't just being I thought he played his heart out. He's 37. Tatum, I think, hated him by the end of the night because he just would not let him breathe. Like he was just always in his face the entire night.
Yeah, and that's why he's there. That's why, a lot of people think, oh, like he's washed, he doesn't score many points, he doesn't do many things well anymore. Well, he plays really, really hard and he plays really good defense. That's why Milwaukee wanted him last year, and this is why Miami took him this year, because that's exactly what he does. And I totally agree. Tomorrow night is the biggest game of this series because you're going to be so worn down by a game 7 that if you can't do it in 6, then I don't know what either of these teams have to play a really good Golden State in the finals.
Yeah. I think this is another opportunity for Tatum to showcase that, he's got to be the best player on the floor, either team, because he's still not a consistent, he scores like 35 and then he'll score 10. Like there's got to be a middle ground for him, because, game 3 was kind of deceiving because Jalen did drop 40, but he also turned the ball over 7 times. Like he forgot how to dribble in game 3. Like he just decided he just didn't know how to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But Tatum just needs to find that middle ground. Maybe he won't score 35, 40 tomorrow night, but if he could score 22 with 8 assists, that might be good enough for the Celtics to win.
That's his problem. He always has a great comeback game, but you don't want a comeback game. You want to be consistent the entire time. You want to score 30 every game. And that's why I think Giannis is still the best player in the world, because he's scoring 25 to 35 to 40 points, if we're being honest. And he's doing that every single night, which is where Tatum needs to be if he wants to be at a championship caliber level.
Celtics win tomorrow night?
Oh, I think it's going to be very, very tight. But yes, I think Boston can pull it out. I think they pull it out within a couple points. I think it's going to be the best. I think it's going to be the best game of the series so far.
Yeah, because it hasn't really been a great series so far.
No, it's been
the conference finals have been the worst so far because they're all kind of the Golden State game was crazy. Obviously, game 2 where Dallas just gagged, but they went LeBron in 2011 type choke. But yeah, I think the Celtics win tomorrow night as well, and I think they win it in 6. It's what I had before, and I still think they're winning the title. So we'll celebrate that together. Warriors up 3. I'm surprised that it's
Shocked.
3-0 because I thought the Mavs would put up more of a fight. I mean, Luka's been pretty damn good, but they just can't hit a 3 to save their life. Dorian Finney-Smith is MIA. Reggie Bullock is just he's somewhere else. He's on another planet as well. But also the Warriors just like kudos to Air Canada, aka Andrew Wiggins, because he's kind of reinvented himself. Luka scored 40 the other night, but that's the NBA. He makes it tough. Like, it's a long night when you have to put up contested shots the whole night. Luka was worn out. He dunks on his head, which is a highlight reel. He's efficient offensively. He's great defensively. He's a cog in a winning machine, and credit for him for having a tough start to his career and finding a niche in Golden State.
Yeah, really. I think it's all ego, and that's how you have to win, is by basically putting your ego aside on a team like that. Because, like, how are you going to be egomaniac with two-time, unanimous MVP, Finals MVP, and just a team that continues to win over again? I have it down in my notes. This is the most impressive run they've had in their entire. If they get there, even if they get there and win it, great. Because you think about it, they just beat the first round. They beat the league MVP, who I never thought they would have. The second round, they beat the best young upcoming team in the league with one of the shining stars in the league. Yep. And now they're going to beat a future MVP and Luka Doncic, and probably a number one in the world at some point, for being honest. And
I already think he's the best player in the Western Conference.
Yeah, there you go. And then they're going to run into a really good Miami or Boston team, and who knows? I'm not going to say what's going to happen next because it might just come true.
If Curry could win another title, and if he wins a Finals MVP, he might go into like top 10 type category.
Some people argue he's already there, but he would insert himself there by all means if he did.
That'd be 4 rings, 6 appearances. Yes. Or 7 appearances.
No, 6.
6 appearances, and you said 2 finals, 2 MVPs, and then a Finals MVP. Like that's quite a damn resume.
Yeah. Oh, I think it would be for sure. And I don't love Steph Curry, but I do respect the fact that he's been this consistent throughout these playoffs at 30, almost 35 years of age. He's not a young sprung guy anymore. Yeah. And all 2 of them, they've collectively played really, really well, and they haven't done it with a legit center either, which is even more impressive in my mind.
But Looney's been better against this Mavs team than Gobert and or Ayton. Like, he's making them pay when they go small. He gets boards, he gets points. He's been really efficient. Like, him and Wiggins have been 2 huge reasons why they're up in this series.
Because of boards, you mean?
Boards, and just like, I think for Wiggins' defense, because like Chris Paul, Booker, and Bridges, nobody can do anything with Luka. But also, like, just he gets the offensive glass. He puts the putbacks back in. He's good with Curry in the pick and roll. He's not an awesome big, but I think he's a really smart. He knows that team. He knows his role well, and he does it. That's just with him. You know what you're going to get.
Yeah. Otto Porter Jr. too is another guy who's kind of played into that clog. I know you mentioned him before. He's also, he's not doing anything flashy. This guy was a top 3 draft pick. You know what I mean? And you got to let that get to your head. But he's revitalized his career by playing solid and making himself an MVP or a role player on a great NBA team.
Do the Mavs avoid the sweep tonight?
No.
They get swept tonight?
Yeah, I'd lean down to grab my friend again, but I'm not. I don't feel like doing it. But yeah, I
think they win tonight.
Okay, well, we'll see. I don't know. It's the momentum, and like you said, the defense that Dallas has been facing. I don't know if they can keep up with it unless they put it back on them and start defending really well against the perimeter. But I just don't know if they have that in them.
Yeah, I mean, at least Luka, his first Finals appearance won't be a loss, and they won't be able to correlate that to LeBron's career right off the back.
Why is that what people are saying?
Oh yeah, they're kind of they play similar. They're both not great. They're both great passers. They both are great drivers to the hoop. They both don't shoot the three particularly well. They both aren't that great at free throws.
There's some similarities there
Yeah.
from different places.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, good for them. I never thought Dallas would make it this far. So if they lose tonight or if they lose in 2 nights span,
Yeah.
I'm still giving it to them. That's a hell of a run for an organization.
No, I don't. Yeah, I didn't expect them to get this far, and the fact that they did, good for them because that looks good on them. Bigger story from the PGA: JT won or Miro choked.
I think it was Miro. I almost want to say Miro choking because it was his tournament to win.
Yeah,
Like he had it in the bag and he just flopped it so bad. Like I don't know how you. I mean, I get it. Like there's the ultimate breakdowns, and obviously I think about that one in '97 with your boy in the
Vandevelde.
Masters. Yeah, that's a breakdown as well. But no, in all seriousness, love JT. You know, I drafted really well last week and picked a winner. Should have put something on that between you, but
Yeah, you should have.
maybe next time we'll get something.
Okay, sure.
But yeah, no, happy for him, and I think Big Zal, Will Zalatoris, my new nickname for him. I think he's right there. I mean, yeah, I know shaky hands, but I think putting will come to him. I think he'll figure it out. He's got probably one of the worst putting strokes I've ever seen, which for a very amateur golfer, that's not great.
Yeah.
But look at his track record, and he hasn't been putting well. He's got a second in the Masters, and he's got a second in the PGA, and a top 10 in the Open, I think, or the U.S. Open maybe.
Yep.
He's right there. He's gonna break the cuff eventually.
Oh, he's great. He's one of the best drivers of the golf ball already, and he looks like skinnier than you. So he might be like 6'5", like $120. But he can bomb at 350, like right down the middle. But yeah, if I was him, I would hire Brad Faxon, who's a putting coach, one of the best putters. He used to play in the tour. I think he won 15 tournaments. He's one of the best putters. That's what he's known for.
Okay.
He worked with Rory McIlroy, and Rory's putting a lot better than he used to be. Like he's good. And just work with him. Like take some tournaments off just to putt because he can do everything else. The reason he almost won, Shea, is because his approach shots were so damn good. He was putting them like a foot away from the hole, and it's hard to miss that putt. You know, especially on Friday when he took the lead because he was flawless. Like he was right in front. He's a great player, but if you said that putting stroke is so ugly and it's hard to watch sometimes. But if he can get away from that and the whiskey mitts, like after a long weekend of just boozing, and on Monday morning you're trying to type and you're shaking, he'll win for sure. I mean, he's great. It's funny, it's crazy. He's been so close in all these majors. He hasn't won a PGA Tour event yet, which is it's crazy to think about.
Yeah, maybe he just shows up for the big ones, I guess. I'm not sure. But yeah, JD was. Do you agree that JT was due for one, or do you think that was?
Absolutely. I mean, he's been playing really good all season. He's finished, top 5. I think it was 5 times coming in. So he was right there. And the fact that he had won a major since 2017 with Spieth was crazy in and of itself. Both those players have been playing a lot better. And the fact that it was that long of a drought for 2 of the best players in the world was really hard to fathom. But I mean, again, he's won. This is his 15th win on the PGA Tour, his second major. So now he's in a group with Morikawa, and he's in a with DJ of guys who have 2 majors on their docket. Yeah. I think maybe getting this one might open up the floodgates a little bit, because he's so good. I mean, Rory's got 4, Spieth's got 4. We'll see what he can do to maybe push himself into that category, because he's as good as he is every weekend. I mean, it's the majors that count.
Unfortunately, you can look over the span, and some people, that's all they see is what you do in the big ones.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm so happy that he's not going to be known as the guy who won one and that's it, and that that was his career. He could never get another one under his belt because there's so many of those. Because it's just so difficult. I thought Southern Hills played really, really well, especially that Saturday when it was just ugly. You were lucky you were lucky to shoot par, if we're being honest.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And yeah, so it was a great tournament, and really happy. Who was your biggest surprise from everyone you watched that you said, oh, this guy played well, or this guy didn't play well?
Scheffler missing the cut didn't surprise me because he was playing so well. It was like eventually he hit a wall.
Okay.
John Rahm again, another major where he was just a non-factor. He made the cut, but again, he was playing early in the morning, so he wasn't anywhere close to competing. So that was a bit surprising that, since winning his first major, he hasn't really been involved even close to winning the next three. So we'll see if he'll defend his title next month at the U.S. Open in Massachusetts. So we'll see what he can do there. So that was a bit surprising. I guess Cameron Young is a guy to watch. I put $20 on him to finish top 5 on Sunday morning. He ended up finishing 4th, so that worked out for me.
Oh yeah.
But he's got two runner-up finishes this year. He's a rookie on the PGA Tour. He finishes 4th at this year's major at the PGA. So I like him because he gets rattled. He gets so mad with his caddy. He kind of reminds me of Spieth. But I think he's ultra competitive and he's kind of a snap show. So I think he could be a fun personality for the PGA Tour if he can get a few wins.
Yeah, everyone loves a guy who just loses it because there's so much composure on tour that they need that non-factor that just breaks a club or throws it in the water or something.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I never, and I'm maybe ashamed to say this, I didn't know who Miro was coming into this tournament.
I watch every weekend. I hardly knew who he was.
Yeah, so for him to go out there and play that well through, we'll say 3 days. Great for him. I know he's 27. He's not a young spring chicken, but still, like, coming over from the Chilean, is that right?
Chile.
Well, he's Chilean, and
him and
coming from over.
Joaquin Neiman was more upset that he lost more than Miro. For Christ's sake, he was crying.
He was pretty chill. Yeah, he was pretty chill about it actually in his post game presser.
Yeah. I don't know how he if there's a futures bet that Miro would never finish top 5 in a major again, I would make that bet right now. I'd put a good chunk of change on it.
Really?
I mean, that was such an opportunity because Danny Willett won the Masters. He'll be a Masters champion forever. He hasn't won another PGA Tour event since. It's those, if you can just capitalize on that opportunity, but rating the drink on 18. It was, I felt the choke coming because I'm like, it just doesn't. I smell a rat here, and I don't feel good about this. And
Jack Nicholson.
When I saw the chili chunk into the water, I'm like, oh no, the Nick Faldo. Oh no, just terrible. But maybe he can find a way to overcome this. I give him credit for doing the interview after because he was so good about it. But that's got to be devastating. $2.85 million to $864,000 in one hole.
Oh. Awful. It's an awful thing. And this is part of my memory, or not my memory, my curiosity. Has there ever been a playoff between 3 people going in?
Yes, I think a few times. I don't remember any. I think there was one in the early 2000s. I know Tiger was involved in Tiger won. I think they both just kind of like Zalatoris, and he but I don't love the 3-hole playoff. I like one myself. I prefer just what they do.
One at a time.
Yeah. I prefer it that way because 3 is a little gimmicky. Kind of reminds me of the gimmick where let's see what you got. One hole. Oddly enough, they both birdied the par 5, so they would have had to play another one. But Thomas birdied the next hole, and then obviously Zalatoris.
Big Zal
didn't really come close with that putt.
I thought of you when he made that putt. I was like, oh, that's gonna be brought up on Tuesday.
Yeah, no. Any plans this week? Anything coming up for you on the horizon?
I think I got a graduation party this weekend, but other than that, it's not supposed to be nice. So I'm going to try to get a round in on Thursday night. Nice. Swinging the sticks pretty good for all those who care. But yeah, no, other than that, continue watching a lot of great playoffs and cheering on at least my Celtics. I might have lost one team, but at least I still have them.
Are you going to go see Top Gun this week?
Maybe not this week. I'll probably wait for it to hit. But it was a funny exchange. I knew I was going to get an interesting response to that. Is there any particular reason why we don't like Tiny Tom Cruise?
It's not that I dislike Tiny Tom Cruise, but
Is it because it's such a big movie and because it's been promoted so much that you're like, oh,
a little bit, and I think he gets propped up a little bit for being a great actor when I don't think he's that great of an actor.
You want to hear something that's going to make you cringe?
Okay.
There's been talks about like there's already Oscar talks about him winning best actor. And like think about how early that is. Like we're March 2023 and he's already being like that's the whispers that are going around.
I'm just gonna say this: if he wins an Oscar, how did Matt Damon not win one for Jason Bourne? Because Jason Bourne's better than Mission Impossible.
Yeah, I'm
with
you on that one.
Top Gun, whatever, Maverick. Give it to Miles Teller. Goose or Goose's son.
Goose's son. Yeah, I've never watched the original, so I have the original on DVD and gonna smack it in one of these nights.
You've never seen the original?
Never in my life.
Oh,
no. So I think I voted to my boy Tom to watch it, so I'll probably put it on one of these nights and then.
It's okay. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's okay.
All right. Good description. What outside of anything you've been watching? I know are you caught up on Barry or?
No, I'm behind. No.
There's a new season coming out, I think, pretty soon.
Yeah, season 3's out now.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
So yeah, I gotta catch up on Barry. It's a great show. Better Call Saul started too. I gotta catch up on that. I haven't watched
the trailer. Looks amazing. Anyone who's a big fan, go look at the trailer.
So far, so I can't wait.
Yeah.
To dive in, but so those couple shows, and I got to finish Ozark, and
you made it to the halfway point in Ozark, right? Like
yes.
The 7th episode. Okay, I just got there last week. Holy moly, that was a whirlwind. I'm excited to cap it off. Hopefully this weekend, if I get some free time, I'll sneak in.
If it's raining, lots of
yeah. I might still be on the golf course. Kind of dedication I'm into.
Oh, I like that.
Now, what about you? What do you got going on for the rest of the week / weekend?
Probably just be here. Watch some playoffs. Go walk around some.
Congratulations on you for hitting the third 100K. You should start having dashes. You can do like teardrops on your eyes, and each one represents 100K.
I should do that. Yeah. I think that'll be.
Well, you like tats, so I thought maybe incorporate that.
I think it can only help my game if I do that. I think I might show some character at least.
Exactly.
Some definition on these cheeks, but no. Well, Shay, always a pleasure on Tuesdays, man. We'll do it again next week, but have a good rest of the week and weekend.
Appreciate that. And one last thing, go Celtics.
Go Celtics, sure. Game 5 tomorrow night in South Beach. Tonight's picks of the day. Hockey picks are tough. I see Shay still in the camera showing off the broom. I might be doing that for the Mavericks. Actually, I'm taking the Mavericks tonight. I don't think they're getting swept. I like the Mavericks to avoid the sweep at home. Luka Doncic will not get swept. Golden State's a great team, but I think he will battle it out. They're going to win tonight. I got the Mavericks. They are the underdogs, but I like the Mavericks plus points tonight. So take the Mavericks. Be back tomorrow. Going to recap the games tonight. We'll get into a lot of different things. So should be fun. Great show back today. Great to be back with all of you. Thank you for the comments. Keep that coming. Love that interaction during the show. Always makes it funner for me. So see you tomorrow. Same time. Just to the point.